employees fail to make a profit from the employers. What I'm saying is, are you maximizing the value that you get from your job today? If you were told to reapply for your job today, what do you think are your chances? Employment is a wealth generating partnership. I'm talking to everybody who is in employment today. If you don't have a plan to organize for your life and for your personal development from the job you actually have today, I think you've missed the boat. My name is Allan Bukusi, and I am a management consultant, author, trainer. And so I've worked with very many organizations,
Yeah.
300 plus. Management training, time management, managing money, leadership development, all those kinds of programs. Right now, I'm lecturing in university, but I also enjoy writing, and so I've written books on leadership, on personal development, on books like Managing Time, Managing Money, Realize Your Full Potential, and of course today's topic, How to Prosper in Employment. And yeah, that's me.
Great. So we are excited to host Allan Bukusi on this platform. And the reason we are here is because he has written, what do you call it? This is a treasure. This is what I would describe. This is a treasure. A treasure because if you are in employment, if you're just getting into employment, if you're about to retire, if you feel choked up in employment and you're feeling I've reached the peak, what more is there for me? This book is for you. Not just the book, but even more so what Allan Bukusi is going to share with us is gem. When you listen to Allan, when Allan speaks, I always say when Allan speaks, the universe spins. So please, let's give him our attention as he speaks to us and takes us through why he wrote this book, why you need this book, and why I like this book most importantly is I like books that have metaphors. So you see, how to prosper in employment, and then a house, a spouse, a cow, my first job. So that alone piques your interest. It piqued my interest, and I want to know what is this about a cow. When now Allan breaks it down for us, you're likely to always remember this. So even as you go through your career, as you go through your day-to-day in your job, you're likely to remember something. So today we are very honored to have Allan speak to us. So Allan, you can begin by telling us where this whole journey started. Yeah, just start from there.
Okay. I think to explain or to help people understand about how that book came to be, I need to tell you a little bit about my writing career. Now, yes, I am a management consultant, and I do training in corporate organizations, but it wasn't always my area to do writing, However,
Yeah.
writing started way back in standard 5. I credit my standard 5 teacher for writing. And you may not believe it, but she gave me 18 out of 20 in an essay, standard 5. And I remember that essay. Now, the reason I remember it is because that's the only essay I have ever gotten 18 out of 20.
Yeah.
In English. And the rest of my English learning career, I don't think I got anything more than C+. I don't think I got a C. And anyway,
Yeah.
I had a science bias. So the only people in my world who understood that I could write, well, one, myself, and two,
Yeah.
my teacher. Okay. So it's been a fight to get that gift out. It's been many years, and it's been a journey. And I remember when I took my first book to publishers, 3 publishers, and I asked them to, publish a book, and I never got a response. 3 years later, one of them responded and says, "Well, this is a nice book, but we need you to do some. We have to review it, and maybe you need to rewrite your story." 3 years after
Wow.
submission.
Wow.
Now,
3 years later. Yeah.
that should have killed a spirit in me at some point, but it did
Yeah.
not. It did not. And just the fact that they said no allowed me to think and say, okay, so how do I get this message out? So for me, writing has been a personal journey of self-expression, but also it has been a journey where I've had to try and get the word out. And I say that carefully now because I'm aware there are going to be many people who are going to listen to this interview and say, "Oh, you're a natural." Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Right?
Yeah.
Ask my brother, ask my mother, and they'll tell you that guy, I don't think he can do anything in English. But right now, I've written like 4 or 5 books, actually a few more, but nobody would have told 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even when I was in school that you know, I'd be able to write. So teachers are very important. That's a major lesson. If you're in high school or if you went through school and one teacher pointed out a gift that you have, this is the time to explore it and exploit it. And eventually it came through. So I just kept writing. I mean, I just kept writing for myself. I write my poems, I wrote my diary, I write my journals. I'd enjoy writing science books. And so that's where I came from. So when somebody tells you in publishing, no, this is your answer to them, I'm going to find out what it takes to publish this book, and I'm going to get it published. I believe if you have a story to tell and you believe the world needs to hear it, then get it out there. And this is one of the stories I guess that I just felt, no, this story has to get out. Yeah. Yeah. Never give up. Never give up. My highest qualification in English, if you like, I took English up to Form 4. I went on with the sciences, but in all of those qualifications, if somebody gives you a C plus then or a C, I tell them I'm on track. Yeah.
Wow. So if you have a story to tell, go out and tell the story, never give up.
Yeah.
So your way of telling the story was, or expressing what it was through writing books.
Yeah.
How did you now settle to write How to Prosper? What was the motivation behind this book?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's an excellent question because I did mention I've been in the corporate consulting, and I've done that now for about 2 decades plus. And so I've worked with very many organizations, 300 plus, management training, time management, managing money, leadership development, all those kinds of programs. Now, if you like, my audience and my followers, quote, have always been employees.
Yeah.
So employees are my pastorate, if you like.
Yeah.
And all my writing, or at least most of it, is geared towards, I've been interacting with employees. And one of the things that corporates do when they hire people is that they expect to make a profit from them. And that's okay. But employees fail to make a profit from their employers. And that, it's like, okay, there's an imbalance here. Something is wrong. Why do you go and look for a job and then you come away from it without anything? Now, let me give you the scenario that really prompted this story. In the late 90s, the government of Kenya, the government of Kenya retrenched employees. And if you go back in history, you'll find that a time when there was a point written golden handshake. And I was there at the time, of course, much younger and, agile and, super trainer. And they were retrenching government staff. This is about 96, 98. Now, those were the retirees. But as it came to pass, people found out, or the private sector followed the government's lead. And they started to retrench anybody over 40. Now, 40 years, my friend, 40 years old is relatively young. You have a career, you probably have a family, you have some visions, you have some dreams you want to accomplish, and you want to be a CEO one day. And somebody comes in and tells you, okay, it's time to go home. And you're like, wait a minute, I haven't finished. In fact, I have not started.
Yeah.
Okay, so this trend continued from the 1996 towards 2000. The government started retrenching. There was the global issues of structural adjustment programs and so on. The government was under pressure to make some to get people out. But the significant period was the golden handshake. Now, the golden handshake was structured in a way that if you left employment, it will give you a lump sum bonus, 1 million shillings, 2 million shillings, depending on where your status is.
Okay.
So the private sector picked this up and quickly started also retrenching expensive manpower over 40 years old. Now, by the time the turn of the century, between 2000 and 2005, there was what you call voluntary retirement. And anybody over 35, in fact, between 30 to 35, you could actually retire, okay, and get your benefits and go home. Now, suddenly, this thing called permanent and pensionable disappeared. And now we had contract employees. Okay? So it was a very rapid evolution because last century, when you got a job, you had a job for life. By the turn of the century, by 2005, 2010, anybody getting into employment is not going to get a permanent job. So it's a major transition. So what does that mean? That means that, in Kenyan parlance, there's this word called kujipanga. Now, let me translate that into English, okay?
Yeah.
When you say kujipanga, it means that you have a plan, that you are organized, that you're going to do something. You've got a plan to organize your life, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Last century, before the golden handshake, you did not need to jipanga because the government organized it for you, and your employer has organized your life. They will make sure you will be permanent. They'll give you a pension, probably give you some sort of benefits and tell you, okay, they'll educate your children. But come 2000, 2010, let me call it 2005, no employer is giving you any benefits. No employer is giving you a pension. All of them are saying it's contract-based, and this contract could be 2 years or less, or even 6 months, or a few months. If CEOs are being given contracts of 2 years, who are you? So now you have to jipanga, you have to organize yourself to the extent that you're now able to organize for your own retirement. Now, sometimes when I speak to young people, they think, retirement is so far away, guys. Please, why even talk about that? So I say, fine, I'm not even going to talk about retirement. What I'm saying is, are you maximizing the value that you get from your job today? Because there is no guarantee that you will have this job 6 months from now or 1 year from now. Now, a lot of other things have also been happening in the employment world. You have a lot more graduates today entering the market. That means the job competition for jobs has gone up, which means if you lose your job today, chances of you getting another one are very slim because there are about 10, 15, 100 other people who are waiting. And I always try to tell employees, sometimes in the training course with a little bit of embarrassment, I say, look, if you were told to reapply for your job today, what do you think are your chances? And the room goes quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because if you were to reapply for your job, you can imagine the competition that would also be applying for that same job. So are you prepared? Are you organized? Are you maximizing the value that you can get from the job today? Or are you waiting to retire? Because I have news for you. Nobody's going to give you a retirement package.
Is that the reality today?
The reality today, I think, is that okay, there are some people who give permanent pension jobs, but they're not in the scale in which they were before. We now
Okay.
have contracts. We now have 6 months, 2 years maximum. And then there's a nice line that says, we will renew this contract based on, the circumstances at the time.
Wow. Wow.
So there's no guarantee, because the mission of that job might have ended by the time you've done the 2 years. Or let's put it another way. The employer may not have the money to pay you for another 2 years, which is, that's just reality. So you've got to start facing up to that. All right. So who am I addressing? I'm not talking to retirees. I'm not talking to 50-year-olds. I'm not talking to 40-year-olds. I'm not talking to 30-year-olds. I'm talking to everybody who is in employment today.
Yeah.
If you don't have a plan to organize for your life and for your personal development from the job you actually have today, I think you've missed the boat.